Today, on Face to Face on One TV, I have a special treat for you. The true founder of the UNC, my friend, Panday. I now give you, Bas.
They haven't invited me to anything for 5 years. I ought not to be surprised that they didn't invite me to celebrate the anniversary of the party which I formed. I wasn't surprised at all.
I may not be surprised, but at least some part of you, I mean, seeing it on TV, seeing all the hard work that went in, struggle from Panday, who went out, all these times, to the party that you founded. I know you've been on record saying that it's something that's nothing near what the ideas were before.
Oh, my heart bleeds. I bleed for the party we formed. This party was formed, as you remember, when the ULF element was thrown out of the NAR, and our supporters, many of them, decided that they were going to form they formed themselves into Club 88, actually, and it is from the struggles of Club 88 that the UNC was formed. And the UNC had certain ideological position, it had a vision of the society, it had, in no way it was going. Today, what it passes for the UNC is not that. This is not the party we formed. As I have said, it is as if the party we formed was kidnapped and locked in a room somewhere, and they took its clothes and began wearing those clothes, pretend to be the UNC. As a matter of fact, not a single one of them in the leadership of the UNC today was present during all those struggles to form this party.
So Prime Minister Bissessor wasn't part of the founding members?
No, not at all. In fact, she had belonged to ONR, some other party.
Okay. Well, moving away from the UNC politics, let's move on to the national politics. There's a separation, but let's go that way. Seeing that elections are supposed to be due within a month or two, what are your thoughts on the same tradition of, you know, the Prime Minister keeping it in her back pocket or front pocket before she actually calls it?
This Prime Minister has no pocket. I wonder where it's being kept.
But what are your thoughts on not having an election date when we are about a month or less than a month off of the 5th anniversary of this party being in office for 5 years?
It all has to do with the inadequacy of the Constitution. The Constitution does not provide for a fixed date. But even if it did, it wouldn't matter, because really the politics of Trinidad and Tobago is the politics of race. It has been since independence, and it continues to be so, with two monolithic parties, each with its base in one of the major racial blocs, and at every election time the election degenerates to race. It has been like that. I wasn't here in 1962, but I recall even then it was like that. So the point I want to make is that it is the political system that causes people to behave the way they behave. It's the political system that causes the opposition and the government to behave in that way. If you change the political system, their behavior will change.
My question is, a couple of months back, I saw you made a comment on some racist statements that were made on social media.
Yes.
By someone from a state board.
Yes.
Do you think now, with this government, which came together as, you know, a government of unity and peace, we are better off now in terms of race relations, in terms of tolerance for each other, to major races, than we would before the office?
I don't think so. I think the racial tensions in the society have deepened because, first of all, the PP government, which is really a UNC government, arrested several people from the Muslim religion during the emergency. And I think that annoyed and angered a large section of the Muslim community. Then I think the Prime Minister has allowed Satmaraj and others to dub the party a Hindu party, which again alienates Christians, Muslims, and so on. So I think the society today is more divided than it was when the government came into office.
You mentioned Satmaraj and the Hindu community.
I'm sorry I mentioned his name, I should not, but I had to, it was inevitable.
All right. That being said, there are a lot of commentators, a lot of spaces on social media pointing out the Hindu members of the government seem to get a free pass. Let's say ministers that may want to fall out of their protocol or their office seem to be removed from one area and just placed in the next. But members that may not belong to that same faith, they get expelled. Are these just people talking on social media?
I hadn't noticed that. And I do not know if one can pin race to that, because one has to behave or do something badly in order to be punished in any way. But there are many people in the party who do lots of wrong, and nothing happens. For example, there's so much corruption, waste, and mismanagement, and nothing has been done about that over the 5 years.
The talk of corruption is going to play a major role in this upcoming elections. We have from email gate to Rishmi gate to Rish Gavalansing gate. We have all these things going on, all these talks of corruption. But it's referred to the DPP, it's referred to the Commissioner of Police, and we don't hear anything after that. In terms of how the government handles business with allegations made against them for the subordination, do you think there's any way that they could probably, if you have to advise them, take steps to help answer some of these questions?
First of all, I do not offer advice to anybody who don't want it, because it's useless. And secondly, it's hard to advise anyone who move headlong and jump into a pit. And you can't advise them when at the bottom of the pit. It's before they go into the pit is when they need the advice. I think they are at the bottom of the pit.
So you don't think they have any chance of winning elections?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all, because as I said, the elections are going to be fought, in my view, on racial grounds. And I think the elections are going to be determined in what is called the marginal constituencies. And the marginal constituencies are the ones that do not have these block support.
Okay. We saw the poll done by one of the media houses about a month ago, saying that the PNM has about 34% support, PP of 28 online, and then 35, the majority is undecided. In your view, what either party or independent party would have to do to probably get some of these undecided voters to swing to their side? What is the people looking for?
Change. People are looking for change. That is why when the PNM was in office, they voted them. They voted them against them. They voted against them. The election results, the last election result, was not a vote for, It was a vote against. And this election will also be a vote against. And so most elections are vote against. And the that indicates that the people are looking for change. And they can't get the change because the Constitution restricts them from getting the change. And the real change will come with a change in the Constitution. But I don't think the population is aware of that yet.
And it seems that it's gospel. Would you entertain, like how some politicians who have now decided to resign from active politics, but to go on an education campaign, try to educate the people in some sort of maybe forums or, campaign and campaigns, anything like that?
Well, one such action was taken last Sunday. For example, the question of the abolition of the Privy Council. And a group met, and I think they intend to pursue this struggle. And it is a struggle not to prevent the Privy Council from being abolished, but to find out what the people want. Because you see, no judicial system will work unless the people have confidence in it. Okay? How do we know the people have confidence in the CCJ as the final court of appeal? How do we know that the people do not want the Privy Council to be abolished? Simple, a referendum. So movements start, and that is a movement that has started. Other little groups have formed themselves into action-oriented groups. They hold meetings and so on. But the present political system strangles them. There is no room for small parties, no room at all in the present system.
And before we go on to the fun stuff, let me ask you one more serious question. There have been rumors of this is going to be an independent pavement for independent candidates. We obviously watched the news, before the independents announcing they're going to run up as independents in certain areas. Just go to campaign people, some may go up independent. In terms of having a bunch of independent candidates go up in seats to contest, would you think that is better for our process, or you think that it's just going to split votes, waste of time? What's your view on having a bunch of independent candidates go up?
Okay, you see, this almost 30% of the undecided, they do not live in one constituency. They are not concentrated in a constituency. So if they vote for the independent, they are so scattered all over the country that it is not enough to form, to get the majority in a first-past-the-post system, which is what we have. So that the chances of independent candidates are not good.
Well, that was all the serious stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff now. I want your views on certain things. First of all, our comedy show, The Parliament. What's your take on the vanilla topping stuff? Because I was looking on Facebook for you, and I didn't see you have much of a response. It's all one thing, but I was looking for a little bit more. So
Okay.
What's your take on that whole vanilla topping?
I think the Parliament has degenerated to a level, the depth of which I have never seen. In Parliament, they no longer argue about issues. They argue about people's character, who have a child with who, and so on and so forth. They don't mention themselves, incidentally, I noticed. They mention other people. So Parliament has really degenerated at a very low level. And again, if the Parliament was separated from the government, the Parliament would then have proper work to do. I do believe that any minister should be a member of Parliament. Parliament should be a law-making body that makes laws for in the national interests. And the government should be running the country and having to go to Parliament for money for their budget. And that is the control that the Parliament will have over the government.
So, I know we had a coalition government. it's been said that, that's the way forward. You look at the UK, it seems to be working out there. Do you think we would ever be at a point where a coalition government may work for us?
I don't think it is a substitute for the kind of change that we want. For example, what we want is a parliament in which interest groups are represented, where the farmers put up their own candidate, and the workers put up their own candidate, and the businessmen, small businessmen put up their own candidates. And so it is a parliament of the national interest groups. And it is in that situation that you really get the kind of change and the kind of satisfaction that you want. I don't believe any substitute will do at this point in time.
In terms of ever getting back into politics and for electoral politics, is that completely out the door? Is there an advisory role you think you might get into? Or?
I am prepared to do anything, which is lawful, of course, in order that this country should be a better place. And I will work with anybody in that direction.
It's not completely out the door, so you think for Panday back in Parliament?
Well, I doubt whether Parliament is rude to do that. But even if that becomes absolutely necessary and the people want it, why not?
One question, top of my head.
Sure.
The youth. In the last 5 years, demographic has changed. People couldn't vote before in the fall into the voting back. We have the two blocks, and UNC, schools who's stuck in the ways. But we have this huge demographic now of the youth. What's your take on the youth in the future?
It is my view, and also from the television program that I once had in talking to youths, it seems to me that the youths have been alienated from the political system. They don't feel they belong to the politics. And because they are not interested. They are not interested in the two racial blocs. And the young people are looking for some kind of hope. I don't know how they'll vote in this elections. I think they probably won't vote at all. Their only hope, of course, is proportional representations, where the youths as a group will decide to put their own candidate, their own people into the parliament who will represent them in that parliament. It is when that happens, I believe, that the youth will now become enthused and will participate in the political system. Otherwise than that, I don't think they'll participate.
Interested you said this particular election, because in the last one, I guess the third party or the party of choice for the youth, who provided probably a different view was the COP. Talking about them, what's your take on the constituent, the president pulling out, for the agriculture pulling out? What's your take on the COP in terms of the party? The common leader says it's strong. It has a good relationship with the UNC and the partnership is strong. But from the outside, it looks like the COP may not have that strong of a foothold.
They certainly do not have the kind of foothold and strength that they had when they got 150,000 votes. But of course, the party has deteriorated since its leader left. He refused to contest the elections. There was I can't figure out why he left up to this day. There was an election in the party, and he said he doesn't fight battles he cannot win, if I remember rightly. It meant that he thought that he would lose. However, since Mr. Dukaran has left the COP, it has deteriorated and it has become nothing but a bubble. Its leadership is hanging on to the coattails of the UNC merely to get a couple of seats here, there, and everywhere.
Do you think you will get a couple of seats in the
I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't even know if there's going to be an election, the way things are going. Somebody back pocket must be very deep, so that I think we should wait and see. But I do think, however, that if the COP should contest the seats they contested in the last elections, they'll lose 95% of them. That's my view. Yeah.
Right. Last question before I give you the chance to talk to me. It's been 5 years. It's close to $400 billion spent, right? With the last administration, we saw high rises going up, so it's okay. You can see where so many money is going to. This government seems to be doing, more work than ever, more than any other government that's been in office. Maybe from your angle, from where you're sitting, you may be able to shed some light on, what that $400 billion went into.
When we were in government, the price of oil fluctuated between $8 and $15 a barrel, and we did an enormous amount of work, built schools, educated children, abolished the common entrance exam and that sort of thing, provided a free secondary education for all children, with oil at $18 a barrel. During the term of this government, oil has hovered around $100 a barrel. After spending $400 billion with 1.3 million people, there should have been no homeless. Nobody should have been homeless. Nobody should have been without drinking water or electricity. Nobody should be living in mud traces up to this day. All these little things that mean so much to people. Of course, the reason $400 million were not able to satisfy the need of our people is because of corruption, waste, and mismanagement. And if people want that, well, they say people get the government they deserve. I don't agree with that. Nobody deserves this. They get the government they want.
Okay. Mr. Panday, the upcoming elections, right? Give you 5 good minutes to tell me or tell the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago what you think we should be looking for. What do you think we should use as indicators to help us decide, if we should go PNM, if I should go for unity, if I should go to board, if I should go to independent. Tell me what we should be looking for.
It does not matter who you vote for. It's going to be the same. It's been the same for 50 years, no matter who you put in the power. And it will not change unless the people have power over the government. So what the people should be doing at this stage is carrying out an enormous battle for genuine constitutional change before the elections. As a matter of fact, I'm hearing about elections, but nobody's talking about elections in the UNC. They are overdue for, 2 years, which would mean that nearly everybody in office in the UNC are there illegally. And they talk about holding elections on time and that sort of thing, but they won't hold elections in their own party.
Peter John, you said something, it's kind of funny to me because just day before I listened to Ms. Khadija, and she was like, there was no outcry within the party for elections.
Yeah.
So I have it. So I was like,
If
that's the philosophy, then if nobody says we should have elections, forget the constitution.
But if there's no outcry in the country for election, we shouldn't have it either. So the question is, elections don't depend on outcry. Elections depend on rules and regulations in the Constitution. But that indicates the mentality. That indicates the mentality. I've always said that the problem with this government is that when it came into office, it did not have a vision. As a matter of fact, when I saw the Prime Minister giving $2 million for singing a rum song, I said that is the vision of the society. If you look at when the UNC came into office in 1995, I think it was, they had a vision statement. So that it starts with a vision, and what you do is you translate that vision now into a plan. And you create an organization or organizations that will implement that plan. But most important, you will only succeed if you put the most qualified person in the job. If you put the most competent person, otherwise you'll never deliver. This is why this government has not delivered. Everything it talks about has been contractors building and paying huge bribes in order to get the contract and so on and so forth. That is not delivering. What has happened to the public service? The public service, there have been complaints all over the place about how public servants treat people and how people are fed up with that. Nobody has done anything to relieve that kind of frustration of the people. So that's what I'm really talking about. Vision. The leader must have a vision. If the leader doesn't have a vision, what the Bible says, the people will perish.